Jennifer Fleeger. I teach film at Ursinus College, and I'm in my kitchen to recommend a movie about a friendship that blossomed in a different kitchen, Douglas Sirk's 1959 Imitation of Life. The film is based on Fannie Hurst's 1933 novel of the same name, in which two mothers, one black and one white, formed a friendship and then built a restaurant empire. Sirk changes the plot significantly to emphasize the subservience of one woman to the other, and therefore draw out the socioeconomic contradictions in American life in the 1950s. He was very good at taking melodramatic, sappy material and creating lavish women's pictures, weepies, melodramas that we would all want to see and feel out of material that he didn't even particularly like very well, but he loved the titles. He said he would have made Imitation of Life just for the title alone. And if you think of some of the other titles of Sirk's films that he did at Universal with producer Ross Hunter, Magnificent Obsession, or All That Heaven Allows, all of these are very suggestive as Imitation of Life might be. Lana Turner played the lead character in this movie, Laura Meredith, and she had done a lot of living prior to making this film. You're probably familiar with the 1958 scandal in which her daughter Cheryl, who was only 14 at the time, stabbed Lana Turner's lover, Johnny Stompanato, to death in the home during a domestic dispute. Lana and her daughter were both exonerated from the trial. At the same time, this incident forms the backdrop of her relationship with her daughter in the film, played by virginal Sandra Dee. We see it everywhere in the tension between the two, and Sandra Dee even calls out the acting of her mother throughout the personal conflicts that they have. Just another layer that Sirk is introducing to making sure that we never read his movies as exactly straight. If you think about what Lana Turner's character is trying to do in this movie, her goals would seem initially to be rather admirable and almost feminist. She wants to be a great actress. She wants to have a career. She wants to resist the jewels and the apron of the kitchen and do something else. At the same time, because she's never able to do these things authentically, it's always, as the song says at the beginning, love without the giving, life without the living. She's just merely imitating life. And the constant condemnation she has by her romantic interest, John Gavin, Juanita Moore, who plays her friend Annie Johnson in the movie, and Sandra Dee herself, who plays the daughter, seem to be confirmation of the fact that Lana Turner can't have it both ways. But what Sirk always does in his films is introduce what he called a split character, a figure who was far more interesting than the lead characters in his film, and who we're meant to identify with and consider the life that they're living outside of the text that we're looking at. And here that character is played by Susan Kohner, who represents Sarah Jane Johnson, the daughter of Annie Johnson, who passes for white throughout the film. Sarah Jane is this split character whose trauma we're really connecting with throughout, and who, as we watch this movie, we recognize that Lana Turner and Sandra Dee can't seem to grasp. But we, perhaps with the perception of time, can get this. Lana Turner is living in a purely surface universe. Sirk gives us a lot of shots of mirrors, frames within frames, architectural structures that frame her face, as if asserting to us that her self-obsession is inescapable. But Annie Johnson, the friend of Laura Meredith, played by Juanita Moore, is the authentic figure, the figure whose funeral has a performance by Mahalia Jackson, the famous American gospel singer, a real performance of authentic experience within Sirk's film. Sirk emphasizes the surface level of the film in another way, too, by having John Gavin play a photographer. John Gavin, an actor who seems to have one expression, nonetheless is attracted to a lot of different things, and it's interesting to pay attention to what he photographs in this movie. The first thing he photographs is Lana Turner herself, but after this he photographs children, and this was of particular interest to Douglas Sirk. He liked to say that he always put children, if they're going to appear, they appear at the end of the, or at the beginning of the movie rather than the end of the movie. Typically, Hollywood will place children at the end of a film in order to assert that there's going to be some kind of potential for a hopeful future. But Sirk reverses that. He puts children at the beginning, and then we watch them become less and less innocent throughout, as if asserting, as he says, that the tragedy will happen again, always and always. Sirk left Hollywood after making Imitation of Life in 1959. It was a huge success for Universal. It made a lot of money, and yet he left after this and went to Switzerland, neglecting his fanciful Hollywood imitations to live in a different way. I very much wish that we could all neglect our imitations of lives in our home right now and meet together to discuss this film. Because we cannot, I hope that you'll take the opportunity to stream it. You can find it on Amazon, YouTube, Google Play, or if you're like me and the pandemic has caused you to subscribe to every streaming service available, I'm sure you can find it other places as well. But you can join Andrew Douglas and me on May 11th at 6:30 for an online discussion, and I hope you will. See you then.
An imitation of